Good morning, everyone. This is Michael Gibbs. Can you hear me? Go over in here. Good morning, everyone. This is Michael Gibbs. Can any of you hear me? Wonderful, everyone. It's so nice to speak to you today. We have about a 10-second delay because we're trying to use some new streaming software so we can give everyone a better experience. And we're going to definitely want to use this when we start doing some slideshows like we're going to do with next week's boot camp. So apologies if there's a couple of seconds below. But I'm really happy to have all of you here this morning that are here, and I look forward to more of you that will be joining. While we're here, my name is Michael Gibbs. Want to let you know at least my background so you know the source of the information you're receiving. I've been working in tech now for well over 25 years. I started in networking, then I worked in security as well as cloud computing. I've actually been designing clouds for a few decades, long before we even called it the cloud. First cloud I worked on was RAM Relay, which became ATM, which then became VPLS, and we've done a whole lot of data center design and all these things throughout the years. So, what types of questions do you have? Akash, do you have any questions this morning? Okay, Akash, do you have any more questions for me? Or Chris, do you have any cloud architect career questions you might want to ask? Okay, welcome. I see there's some people on the call. My name is Michael Gibbs. Could you let me know who's here? And do any of you guys have any questions regarding your cloud computing career? Akash Raz, great question. Do we need any basic knowledge of networking? I want to further ask that question. For which career? Are you referring to cloud architects? Is that your question? Because if you're referring to cloud architects, I'd like you to consider the cloud as nothing more than a virtualized network in a data center. And when you look at the cloud as basically a virtualized network in a data center, you're going to understand what you need to know. So I would say the things that you need to know about networking are basically simple IP subnetting, NAT, the TCP/IP protocol stack, because you're going to need to know the TCP/IP protocol stack for things like security groups, for things like network ACLs. You really should have some understanding of BGP, which is a routing protocol. You should understand what a route is in the routing table, a static route versus a dynamically learned route. It would be good for you to understand what switching is. You definitely need to know what a VLAN is. You definitely need to know what .1Q tagging is. While not exactly networking, DNS would be something you definitely would need to know about. NAT and the uses of NAT. And the concept of BGP peering or is kind of important when you start dealing with VPC peering. The other thing that I would suggest with regards to that is just understanding, the process of how packet goes to one router and goes to another router, goes to another router. And you should understand IPsec, you should understand VPN technologies, and you should understand private lines or direct connections. I would say that's kind of the minimum basic knowledge to be an architect, Akash, as a cloud architect, because what's going to happen is since the cloud is just a virtualized network and data center, you really need to be in the position where you understand what the virtualized network and data center is so you can redesign it. So they're the things you typically would need to know as a cloud architect, Akash. Did I answer your question, Akash? Chris, exceptional question. How much understanding of the details to configuration? Really good. And let me see the second half of your question. Do I have any suggestions for getting better understanding of networking? Yes. Okay, Chris, really exceptionally good questions here. So regarding the configuration of the routers and switches, as an architect, it's not really that important to know. Because an architect, we're going to meet with the client, you're going to ask the questions, you're going to have a questionnaire of things that you're going to ask, then you're going to ask a lot of questions of the customer. So when you're doing that, you need to understand how it works, because how it works will determine how you design it and the optimal configuration and design for the future. So you must definitely know how the network works and the things that are there. Now, how to configure the router, I mean, look, as an architect, you're not going to configure anything, and if you do, it's going to be very minimal. So you're not going to need to understand heavy-duty configuration. In fact, if you're using AWS, when you configure things via the management console, it even gives you a list of configuration commands for your routers. So you don't need to know how to configure things so much, but you sure need to know how they work and how the pieces and parts fit together, because it's the way the things work and the pieces and parts fit together that enable you to understand it so you can design it, because you can't design what you don't understand. I like to say I like to cook, and realistically speaking, I know how to cook two types of foods. I know how to cook Jamaican food really well and Greek food really well for obvious reasons, the Greek food. So if, for example, I was to make a souvlaki, which is chicken and olive oil and garlic and oregano and salt and pepper, that's souvlaki. But if you've never seen chicken and you've never seen olive oil and you've never seen garlic, salt, and pepper, and someone said the souvlaki is this, it's hard to understand. So it's just an understanding of the systems and how they work and why they work. And that's really what we're looking for to be a cloud architect. Now, a cloud engineer, totally different. Cloud engineer is going to have to configure these things. They're going to have to be really good at it. Now, if you told me a sysops person, the sysops person is going to have to get really detailed into this, and they're going to be a configuration person. They're going to be dealing with Terraform. They're going to be dealing with Python. So it's really the job that you want that determines. But Chris and Akash, these are exceptionally good questions, and I'm very grateful you answered them. I hope you asked them, and I hope I answered your questions. I see Praveen is here. Good morning. Welcome. I'm so happy to see you here. Thank you for being here. Do you have any questions, Praveen? Okay. Well, does anyone else have any questions? Or Chris, I answered your question. Good. I didn't send a big email to my list this morning about this live stream, so it might be a smaller call, and if that's the case, everyone here can ask more questions. So in any case, who has the next question? That's okay, Chris. More questions the merrier. Any kind of thing that we can do to help the community. Great question, Praveen. What are the common areas that need to be concentrated in the AWS design for infrastructure? For example, big data. So, best way I would look at this if I was you, you have to figure out first what is the infrastructure. And there's two options migrating towards the cloud. Option one would be a cloud native, and option two would be lift and shift. And I'm going to describe what I mean by these two things. So cloud native would be, you would basically design your systems as if they were supposed to work on the cloud and the optimal means of the cloud. Now there are some great things that can happen with the cloud. You can use with some of these serverless designs, which are great. You can basically set these things up quite easily, auto provision themselves. There are a lot of great things that can be done, Praveen, on the cloud like that. Now the practicality of that is something different. So then I'm going to give you the alternative how most people are actually designing this, so you can know how to design it. So you could theoretically design everything to be cloud native, stick it on the cloud. Now in order to do this, an organization would have to spend millions and millions and millions of dollars reconfiguring their applications, recoding their applications so they could use these serverless systems. Organizations are extremely hesitant to try and do this. Extremely hesitant to try and do these kind of things. And the reason they are is we've all experienced the cable provider, the phone company, where basically they give you a discount, and all of these cloud providers will give you a first year big discount. And then after the year, your price goes up. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't put all my guarantees in the phone company or the cable company. And most businesses are not willing to do so either, especially after AWS had kicked one of the customers off and it sent shutters throughout the organization. So, realistically speaking, that's your way you could design it cloud native. 90% of all things are going to be lift and shift. So, Praveen, to answer your question, how you would do it, if you're going to do a lift and shift, which is what 90% of organizations do, you have to look at the current systems that the organization has. What do their computer systems look like? Their servers, what kind of CPU, memory, what kind of drives are in them? Regarding the CPU, memory, and the drives of these servers, are they operating at 10%? Are they operating at 20%? Are they getting maxed out? Are they at 75% or above? You need to know what's going on with your systems. You could see what you do is, normally speaking, you take stock of every system that exists. What I mean by that, the routing, the switching, the firewalls, the IDS, IPS systems, the databases, the virtual machines, the containers, the storage, you just shift it over to the cloud. So Praveen, the biggest things that you need to understand if you want to realistically be a cloud architect is the current systems, how they work, and why they would use them. So bringing it back to my network and data center analysis, which is where I always go, the reason I go this path is then the cloud is nothing more than a network and a data center. So what do you really need to know to be a cloud architect? You need to understand networking. You need to understand virtualization. You need to understand containers and how they're managed. You need to understand firewalls, switches, VPN concentrations, Microsoft Active Directory, IAM, and all kinds of storage, how they work and why they would use them. And that's pretty much what you need to know as a cloud architect. So the way to really get to do this is to learn the network and the data center. I'll tell you what we do with our students, and then I see there's some more questions. With our students, we do the following. First, we teach all the technology that makes the cloud possible. Meaning, we teach you networking, for example, and we teach you switching. We teach you how way routers work. We teach you the way server virtualization works, and then you build it. And then you learn about containers, and then you build it. And then you build a firewall, because the best way to learn about a firewall is to make one. Then we build open SSH servers, so you learn about how SSH works and how VPNs work. And then after we're done that, you set up the LAMP stack, and then when you're done that, you build basically everything that's possible to make the cloud possible. And then after you learn about that, what we do with our students, and you can do it yourselves or with us, after that, what we then do is we make you build your own cloud. Because after you've built your own AWS-like environment from scratch, then all the names of the services are just so easy. In fact, after you've built your own cloud, there's nothing that you don't understand. And then you're like me, and then you just literally be on 10 different cloud providers in a week, and none of it matters to you because all you do is you say, okay, virtual machine, EC2 on AWS, Google Compute Engine, something else on this cloud. Doesn't matter. So my suggestion is learn the network and the data center, Praveen, and then you'll be prepared for everything. Before I get to the next question, Praveen, did I answer your question? Okay. Well, Praveen, if you have another question, please let me know. It's really a great honor to be able to answer some of these questions for you. Okay, wonderful. I'm glad you got your information. Now you know where to concentrate. That's why I do this. The average cloud architect earns basically $600 a day, and in the US it's $593, but it's basically $600. And I hate to see people spend 6 months, 9 months, or a year going down a path that's not there. It's just too much of an opportunity cost to their family. So if you've got any more questions, I try and do these every Wednesday, and we've got lots of free webinars for which you can ask questions. So happy we're able to help you there. Mick Film, you were just watching my videos. Thank you so much for watching one of my videos. I really do appreciate every one of you that watches my videos. Stan, where do you see the future of cloud security? Oh, that is a really great question, Jay Stan. So I will tell you that I think cloud security is probably the biggest and most important component of cloud computing. I have at least 75 people that I'm working with right now. And the 75 people that I'm working with right now, I have like 75 people that I'm working with right now to create cloud security architects. The reason I say this is the data center is inherently more secure than the cloud. And not that the cloud is insecure, but the data center is more secure. And as we move to the cloud, because it's a shared system and it's still very secure, we start getting involved in these environments where you've got to do what I call workarounds. So you can't, when you're dealing with the cloud providers like a WAF firewall, that's not what the equivalent of what you get from, say, a Cisco or a Palo Alto or a Checkpoint firewall. So when you're dealing with the cloud, you need to be able to go past some of the basic cloud things. So there's realistically speaking two ways, Stan, that I see cloud security going. The primary way, which I think is going to exist for a good number of years, is the traditional way where you do your firewall, and after your firewall, you do your IDS, IPS system, and then behind that, you've got some DDoS protection, and then you've got access control lists protecting subnets, and then you've got malware protection on your services. That's your traditional way, along with encrypting your data that's stored, encrypting any publicly facing data with things like SSL and IPsec based on the use case. And and then strong IAM policies. That's your typical security, and I don't see that going away for a while. Now there are other approaches, Jason, like Zscaler, which has some very innovative approaches for actually dealing with cloud security, and I see a lot of it going there. So the way I see it is, if you want to be a cloud security person, and I was a CISSP for many years, and I was one of the original CCIEs, and I've worked in heavy security environments for decades now. I will say that first, you really need to understand all the ways current security works. And if you desire cloud security, we have a lot of our people working on a CEH or a CISSP in addition to the Certified Solution Architect Professional. That's a good security resume, and it looks great, as opposed to the AWS Advanced Security. It's just so lightweight, it's not much. But these industry certifications really hold a lot of weight. So I see in the future, potentially we get to that Zscaler type approach where that's adaptive and automated, and I think it's a fantastic solution. But even to go to those solutions, you still need to know where we're coming from, because you can't take a system and migrate it to another system without knowing how the current systems work. So big believer in the traditional security approach, and I also do love the Zscaler approach. I think is highly innovative, but I think you need to know both as a cloud security architect. And then I see, Stan, you also said book I read to get started in JS. I'm not sure why you'd want to do that yet. So Stan, let me read through all your questions. Our computer service models and design patterns. Design. So what did you mean when you said design decisions for cloud computing service models, computing service designs, and the enterprise practices? I know what each one of those things means, but they just look like a lot of things strung together, so I'm not sure of your destination. So I'd love to help you further, Stan. Could you tell me what you meant by decision designs for cloud computing service models? Are you looking for architecture principles? I'm just not sure what you mean. So Stan, if you've got a further question, if you let me know. Oh, okay. They're books that you read. Okay, that's fantastic. I think that's terrific. Gotcha. It sounded like a bunch of catchy titles and or buzzwords, and when I see these things and I don't exactly know where they're coming from, I like to ask the question. So got it. Great. All good books, that good topics to read. Okay, so if someone else asked for books to read, okay, so I'm not really sure what anybody meant by books to, so which questions people were asking. I would say at minimum, people should read the CCNA book, because I think it'll actually be helpful to people, because the cloud is nothing more than a virtualized network and a data center. I think people should read VMware documentation for VMware ESXi. I think people should read the Microsoft Active Directory documentation, because it's some of the best training I've actually ever seen for IAM. I also realistically like the F5 documentation for DNS as well as load balancers. And I also am a big fan of the Palo Alto and the Cisco documentation for firewalls, IDS systems, and IPS systems. That gives you a tremendous amount of good infrastructure knowledge, and 99% of that is actually free. And it's the best and most up-to-date content you can get in most cases. So they're typically the the types of things that I recommend. Mick Film. I watched your video about cloud architect, but can the two be combined in one, or is that information overload? Okay, Mick Film, what a great question. Can you be a cloud architect and a cloud engineer and be good at both? The answer is you can be good at one. You can do both, but you can be good at one. It takes 10,000 hours to become an expert on any one thing. And if you're trying to be the configuration person, you're not going to be the person that's looking at the overall design and how the systems work and interact together. So you can take what I call these junior roles, and in the junior roles, you're sort of an architect, but you might be doing a little configuration, a little testing in a lab, like a proof of concept. But an architect is a designer. There's someone that meets with customers. It's a lot of design work. It's a lot of customer-facing role, and it's a very, very, very high-paid role. And because of that, it needs some soft skills, emotional intelligence, communication skills, collaboration skills. It really takes all of that. And that's sort of where it works. Now, Poonham asked the question, do you need to be good at programming? Well, I don't know what your job that you're looking for to do is, Poonham, but if you're going to be a cloud architect, you're not going to be programming ever. You're not going to be writing shell scripts. You're not going to be writing Python scripts. You're not going to code at all, because the cloud architect is a design role. In 25 years of being an architect, I've never written a script in my entire life. And I've been offered distinguished architect roles at more of the major companies that you can think of. People just calling me and then just talking to me. And I can't code, and I'll always tell them that I can't code. So as an architect, not a required job skill. As a DevOps person, software development is absolutely critical. And as a SysOps person, scripting is critical, and as a cloud engineer, possibly. So if you want to, at some point after I finish answering some other questions, we'll get there. But I want to get to when I finish Mick Films, he watched my video, so you can only really be good at once. And Mick Film, you also said, on average, how fast are students able to get jobs after completing your program? So great question, Mick Film. First and foremost, we do help people with their resumes. We have a lot of training in our thing with regards to resume guidance. We also help you pick a specialty. We also help you map out a career development plan. And we teach you how to interview. We spend 3 weeks on it. We teach you how to package your message. So we help a lot. I will tell you that in the people that signed up in the last 12 weeks, 5 of them have already been hired. And we view that as extremely good success. We have a 16-week program, but a lot of times people get jobs faster. Sometimes they get jobs longer. For example, sometimes we work with people with no tech background whatsoever. And I've done that for 2 decades. And you know what? It may take 6 to 9 months to take someone that's never worked in tech in their life and get them a great cloud architect kind of job. But we still say that's great, because where else could you get a job that pays as much as a physician or an airline captain for very inexpensive training in 6 to 9 months? It just doesn't. So we figure 6 to 9 months for people with no tech background of hard work. It's hard work if you have no background. And about 16 to 20 weeks for people that have a little bit of a tech background, but they need to learn the executive presence, the communication skills, the soft skills, the emotional intelligence. All these things are critically important to the average cloud architect. So Mick Film, did I answer your questions? Do you have any more before I go to the next one? Okay, what I'm going to do, because you asked a question about my training, Mick Film, I'm going to pop a link to the training course along with the 20% coupon if anyone is interested. And I don't like to talk too much about our training on these calls, but some questions were asked. And before I get to the next question, I want to answer Poonham's question. Do you need to start reading about AWS or Azure or some cloud fundamentals? So here's my perspective. Poonham, if you don't know what the cloud is, then all the certification training in the world is meaningless. And the reason I say it's meaningless is knowing the name of a service and how to configure it has nothing to do with the cloud architect job. The cloud architect needs to understand the systems. How do all the systems work together? How are they integrated? What are the functions of the systems? What are the performance levels of the systems? These are things that architects do. So if you don't know what a load balancer is and how it works and why you would use it, you'll never be able to figure it out from the certification. If you've never set up server virtualization, then the concept of a computing instance is just meaningless. If you've never set up Kubernetes or anything like that, then the concept, or Docker, the concept of the container just doesn't mean anything. It's just not, it doesn't register in your head because you've not done it before. So in my experience, my suggestion, and this is the way I live my life, is I learn the fundamentals and how everything works and how the portfolio works and how it goes together. And then after that, then it's easy. For example, yesterday we did a free webinar. I had about 50 people from all over the world. And I walked them through a cloud architecture design. And we do this a lot of times on Tuesdays for free, so you're more than welcome to attend. I'll leave the link to some of our free webinars that we do for you in a few moments. But the point is, we had this webinar, and I basically had the organization look, everybody on the call. I had everybody that was sitting on the call. I gave them a scenario for a healthcare organization, and after I gave them the scenario for the healthcare organization, what I then did was I had everyone design the architecture. Now the architecture involved, what do the systems look like in the cloud? Okay, this is what the systems look like in the architecture. We need servers with this capacity, we need servers with this capacity. We need storage with this capacity, we need storage with this capacity. We need this kind of encryption, we need this kind of encryption in the design. After we built the design, then we just picked the AWS services, and even though there were no Azure people on the team, they basically selected the same services from Azure, and inside of a half of an hour or 2 hours, people had not only interviewed me, the Chief Information Officer of the project, they had designed a complete architecture, and they had ported it to 2 clouds. And we could have done the Google Cloud in another 20 minutes after designing the architecture too. See, when your fundamentals are strong, everything else becomes extremely easy to do. So Stefan, Mandy, and then I'm going to go back up. Is it possible to start the cloud with no prior knowledge in IT? Absolutely. I work with people all the time and do it. It's never a problem. The key is, sometimes I actually prefer to work with people that have less background. And the reason that is if you don't know and you're learning, all I have to do is teach you the fundamentals, and I can teach you the right way to do it. So if you've got no bad habits and I can teach you fresh from scratch, then I have the opportunity to teach you everything the way it's supposed to be. And then from there, it's not an issue. Now, I will tell you, when you are new to move into a cloud architecture role, 6 to 9 months is a reasonable expectation if you can put a lot of time in it. And so McFilm, I added a second link for you. The coupon code will still apply, but I'm going to send you I'll re-update it, and then there's some more questions that I see there. Good morning, No Luck. So happy to see you here. There's some questions that I didn't get to yet. I want to answer. Corey Singleton, you recently passed your, what are some good cloud projects to get started on what employers actually care for? Okay, Corey. What employers actually care about are things that are related to infrastructure. So no one's going to care if you've set up an EC2 instance. No one's going to care if you've configured an S3 bucket. No one's going to care if you've made a WordPress site. Here's what employers do care about. If you look at any of these job descriptions, what the job description, I mean the serious job descriptions, ones that are designed by cloud providers that actually understand the cloud, they always say 5 years knowledge of networking, data center technologies, knowledge of load balancers, knowledge of servers, knowledge of storage, knowledge of encryption, knowledge of all, and it's all the network and the data center. So realistically speaking, Corey, if you want to actually learn the kind of things that employers care about, what you're actually talking about is you're talking about these labs. And these are the labs that our students do. And these are what we recommend. Now, you can do them on our platform. And our platform, with the cloud is probably cheaper than buying the server. But if you have access to a good server, you can do all these labs. And these are the labs we do with our students. And I'm going to tell you right now, because if you have your own server, you could do it. And if you want to do it on our servers, you can do that as well as part of our program. The first thing we do is we have people set up server virtualization, because server virtualization is the thing that maintains the cloud is built on. Then after we have you do that, we have you build a container. Again, you could do this on your own with your own servers, or you can. Now, virtualization, you need a type 1 hypervisor, meaning you need a spare server. You can't do this on your notebook. So set up server virtualization, then build some containers. Then set up Linux. After you've set up Linux, build an Apache web server. After you've done that, set up a MySQL server. For real, not the AWS way, but actually build it and configure it from scratch. Install PHT. Set up a UFW or IP tables firewall. All the networking or all the servers that are being used in this environment of the cloud are going to be NFS servers because of your Linux system. So set up an NFS server. By the way, it's the same as EFS. Then when you're done that, set up a Samba server, which is when you use a Linux server to serve Windows clients, because there's just not that many Windows servers out there anymore. Then when you're done that, set up a VPN concentrator. Then when you're done that, set up Active Directory. That's what employers care about for IAM. Then when you're done that, what we do is we have our students build a cloud from scratch. They take one of our servers, they install all the control plane for the cloud, they set up the data plane for the cloud, and then they've got a cloud, and it looks and feels identical to AWS. So when everybody else has on their resume, I set up an EC2 instance or an S3 bucket, you can say, I built a cloud. When you build a cloud and you've got that on your resume, along with all these things in a research and development section of the resume, like I talk about with my people, and if you're curious about resumes, I'll talk about it. But when I talk about these kind of things, employers care because first, it shows you're motivated. Secondly, not only does it show you're motivated, it shows that you're willing to go above and beyond two things that employers care about, and it's going to show depth of knowledge and technical competency. So these are the labs that we recommend, Corey Singleton. And by the way, this is all of our students do this, along with complicated case studies, but that's part of the program that I actually mentioned. And for people that are only interested, and it's not our primary recommended approach, because as cloud architects, we work very, very hard to focus on what I consider to be the more essential things: the soft skills, emotional intelligence, presentation skills, writing skills, attitude, energy, enthusiasm. The reason they're so important for us is twofold. One is when it comes to getting your first job, the better your package, the more likely you are to get hired. What I mean by that is when we rank candidates on a scale of 0 to 100, 50% of it is related to your soft skills, emotional intelligence, technical competency. And the other 50% is, soft skills, emotional intelligence, presentation skills, attitude. And the other 50% is related to your technical competency. So when it's your first job, if we can get you to a 50 out of 50 on all the intangible factors like soft skills, and a 35 to 40 out of 50 on technical competency, you perform better on an interview than people that have many years experience. So that's our process and flow. If you wanted to do just pure tech labs, we have a program for that that's technically only. I just dropped the link to that right now, and that is the experience program, and I put in a 25% coupon for that if anybody desires to do that. Again, we recommend training everything, but including the soft skills. But for that, that's what we're referring to. Okay, so Meaner. I took my AWS Cert Associate a couple months ago. Do you think it's a good idea to get the Pro Cert? I received my message about the webinar. How will this webinar help me? Minor Husseini, I wish this was not the case. I actually don't view it as possible if you're new to the cloud to actually get a job with just the Certified Solutions Architect Associate. So my path that I recommend is Associate, Professional, and then Industry Knowledge, and they typically get an industry certification. It used to be that the Associate certification was sufficient, it was great. What happened from my perspective was the Udemy courses that are out there, you can go through these courses, you can complete them, you can pass the exam and still be completely unprepared for anything related to a cloud computing role. And there's all these exam dumps that again did the same thing. They made it so easy to pass without knowing. So that is a tough exam, and you may have a lot of knowledge, and I bet you do. But the problem is it's so easy to pass these exams and still know nothing about cloud computing because of all the exam dumps in these Udemy courses that are purpose-built to help you pass the exam, but no one cares if you get hired when you're done. So because of that, that Pro Cert is going to be minimum necessary to do. So you can take any Pro Cert course you want. I don't like courses that are just video without the ability to ask questions because you don't know if you're getting it right or not. And all the boot camps that are out there are $5,000 and $10,000 for a professional boot camp. So I just decided to be good to the industry, and next week do a complete free streaming Certified Solution Architect Professional Boot Camp so that people can not only learn what's necessary, but they can get a little understanding of architecture as well to get them one step closer to getting hired. So obviously you're not required to take my free boot camp next week, but I definitely would, and I think it'll have a big impact on your career. Monair, did I answer your question? And then I see Praveen had a really great question, Praveen. Praveen, you asked, what are the chances of hybrid cloud growth? I think all future designs and deployments will be hybrid cloud growth. I can tell you that Amazon, after they kicked Parler out of the network and Parler went bankrupt, and I'm not going to say that I'm a supporter or not a supporter of Parler. I don't really care. It's not me or neither here nor there. But what ultimately happened, and I can tell you the phone calls I got from executives across the industry was, first, everybody wanted to go to the cloud because it was cheaper. And then, after an organization got kicked off the cloud, which forced it into bankruptcy, most of the people that I know that I've consulted with and asked questions to said, oh my God, if Amazon has the power to kick you out and make you go bankrupt because they don't like you or agree with your mission, we still like the cloud, we still want the benefits of the cloud, and we still love AWS, but we need to build a contingency plan in. We can't be in a position where if the cloud shuts us off, we're out of business. Businesses have contingency plans. The CEO plans what happens if they get hit by a bus. The CEO plans if something else happens. The CEO plans about an earthquake, a major fire. They've got recovery plans for everything. And that decision that Amazon did, good or bad, I'm not here to judge it, really scared a lot of people. So I don't think you're going to see anything in the future that's not a hybrid cloud or multi-cloud. And that's for the hence why we're doing so many more lift and shifts than we did a few months ago. So I hope I asked your question. Again, this is not my perspective. This is me speaking to executives and organizations. This is me noticing the change that people are doing. And this is me, noticing the questions I'm getting and the things that I'm hearing working in the industry constantly. So that's my answer to that question. So I think you would be great to understand exactly the way the network works, the data center works, and be able to understand hybrid clouds. Will Cullen, do you think the Net Plus and Security Plus and Google is a good certification track to becoming an independent cloud consultant? Well, I hate when people ask this question. So I think the Google Professional Cloud Architect is a good certification. I took it. The Net Plus and the Security Plus are not easy exams. Unfortunately, unless you want to work for the US government, they hold almost no value with regards to helping you get jobs. The Net Plus doesn't hold anything compared to the Cisco thing like a CCNA or a CCNP. And the Security Plus, while a challenging certification, and it's not easy, so I'm not pretending that it is for even a second, the Security Plus just doesn't mean much of anything. It doesn't mean anything like the CEH or the CISSP. So Will Cullen, if you want to tell me what your goal career is, I can help you build a certification plan. I just need to know what your goal is so that I can help get you to your goals correctly. Do you want to be a cloud architect? Do you want to be a cloud security architect? So I don't know what you mean by, I know what it means to be a cloud consultant that's independent, but if you give me a better understanding of your desires of what kind of cloud consultant, I can give you a better certification path and training path. So Madison, for you, which industry certification should you get after getting the AWS professional? It's not what HR is looking for. HR has no concept of what they need. It's what the hiring managers are actually looking for. We try to actually skip HR completely. We use executive recruiters and send our people to the hiring manager directly. When people have very limited experience, we work very diligently to get them to go straight into the role they desire. So if you tell me what kind of role you desire, we can help you get there. But I don't want to recommend certifications without knowing your ultimate goals, because otherwise you could spend 6 months or a year pursuing certifications that aren't going to be relevant to your dreams, and they won't help you at all. So it's super important to me to make sure we know where you want to go before we build you a map there. So if you want to let us know, I'd be thrilled to work with you on that. Now, the next question is from Mick Film. Should you get AWS certified before my program? Ideally, it doesn't matter either way. In our program, not only will you have access to the Certified Solution Architect Associate, the Certified Solution Architect Professional, Advanced Networking, and Advanced Security Training. It's all included in my program. Even if you hadn't passed these exams, I'd still have to start you from teach you these things as if you didn't know it. The reason is all these certification programs are designed to people, junior implementation engineers. A junior implementation engineer configures things, they set up S3 buckets. Cloud architects, which is what I focus on, all focus on design. And in the last 25 years of being an architect, after the first 2 years, I never configured anything in my life because architects don't configure things. So the training, the certification training is great if you want to be a junior cloud engineer, but it's not really great if you want to be a cloud architect. So the thing for me is always knowing McFilm, what your goal career is, but I think you told me cloud architect. So I'd rather teach you from the ground up. I'd rather teach you networking. I'd rather teach you the way the cloud works. I'd like rather you learn what every component of the cloud is. And then when you know what storage is, then it's easy to do the certification. It's so easy. And to put it into context, this is how easy it is when you know versus how challenging it is when you don't. The Professional Cloud Architect exam by Google is the most difficult of all the cloud certification exams. Here's how I passed the Google Cloud Certification exam, and it's not because I'm smart, it's because I knew the underlying technology. I wrote the book for the AWS Certified Solution Architect Professional. After I wrote that book, I literally said to my partner at the time, I said, if our book is good, we should be able to use this book to pass the Google Professional Cloud Architect. And my partner says to me, what are you, nuts, Mike? I said, no. A cloud's a cloud. A virtual machine's a virtual machine. A container's a container. A firewall is a firewall. An internet gateway is an internet gateway. It doesn't matter. And my partner said, you're crazy. So what did I do? On a Thursday, I bought the book from Amazon. On Friday, it showed up. And on Monday, I had previously scheduled the Google Professional Cloud Architect exam. I read the book over the weekend, passed the exam. Why was that easy for me? Because I knew the cloud. I knew the network. I knew the data center. It was all so ingrained in me that then I could just pick up any other cloud book and in a matter of days get certified. So it's very, very, very hard to do these things if you don't know the underlying technology. But when you know the underlying technology, it's just very simple. So that's our preferred approach to do this. And that's how we've done it. Data, Corinne, Andy, where can you start a cloud career which involves working in a smart city technologies or projects? Well, I've got to ask you the question, Data, Corinne, Andy. Have you ever worked in smart cities? Do you have any background in that? Have you ever worked in the cloud? Well, so to really guide you there, Data, Corinne, Andre, where can you start a cloud career that involves working in smart city or technologies? What I would say is for the majority of people, I don't think that's a realistic expectation. And what I mean by that is it's a lot of work to help someone get their first cloud architect job. I work with people with no experience all the time and help them get jobs. That's not the problem. The problem is you've got to build extreme competency, and that takes time. Say 6 to 9 months if you don't have a background, because it takes focus training and the rec training. It takes working constantly at becoming excellent at that. Then it takes focus on working on soft skills, emotional intelligence, presentation skills, and that. Then it takes a network of recruiters like I actually have. Then it takes good sales skills, exceptionally good interview skills, and that's a 6 to 9 month process. Being able to go to that and get you a job is about a big enough challenge. Now, to get you a job in a specific isolated industry inside of that, now you're actually putting yourself in a very challenging position because it's a big enough challenge to get you hired. We've got a specialized program to do it, and we've got 20 years experience doing it. But to then say, not only get you hired, but only have you work in 1% of the industry, I would say that's not a good career move. I would say become a cloud architect, get experience. Then, if you don't have it, get a lot of industry experience in modern cities and architecture of cities, architecture of power, architecture of all the systems that are possible, which is going to take you, if you don't have that background and all the tech that's available, another 5 to 10 years. And then you could move into one of those smart city kind of things as a thought leader. But it's that much of a process to get down into a niche market that's that small. So that would not be my recommendation for you. I would recommend you find a good cloud architect job or cloud engineer, desire what you desire. And so that would be my perspective. Vinshu, how tough is it to become a cloud architect from scratch as a beginner? I don't think it's challenging at all. My first job was medicine. I went from medicine directly to senior network engineer, which was much more complicated than this because we had to do everything from the command line in those days in a matter of 6 months. I've got lots of people that I've trained to be cloud architects in 6 to 9 months with no tech background, and they've gotten hired. It's not a problem. So the real issue is you've got to prove competency beyond a reasonable doubt when you go on these interviews. And the competency is a combination of the way you know it, but also the way you explain tech. See, the biggest challenge when it comes to interviews is the following. When I ask someone, when I ask someone, and that, for example, what is object storage? If they say S3, it means that they don't know what object storage means. They just know a name of a service. But I ask someone what object storage is, even if they're new. And all my students can do this, no problem. But if I ask someone what object storage is, they're going to say it's a storage area network technology. It's a unique storage area network technology because you take data and you break it down into objects, and the objects are stored in the storage array. And then my students will tell you, what's interesting about this is it takes the data, and when it breaks it down to objects, it leaves something called metadata on the object. And metadata is data about the object. And because object storage has metadata, you can do some pretty incredible things with the data. For example, you can query the data with things like SQL queries. You can build a data lake because of all that metadata. It integrates very nicely into big data environments. Object storage is only useful for files that don't change because every time you modify a file, it creates a new version, and go on and go on and go on. You deliver that on a job interview along with a good attitude, energy, enthusiasm, great presentation skills, you'll get hired every time. Your background doesn't matter. I've been on 5 job interviews in my life, and I've gotten hired every 5 times. My students, they go on interviews, they get hired. I will tell you that if you've ever been on more than 3 interviews for a job, there's a problem. There's a problem with technical competency, there's a problem with interview skills, there's a problem with attitude, executive presence, emotional intelligence, and it's easily fixable through training in 90% of the cases. 10% of the people, unfortunately, you can't do that. But in 90% of the cases, you can do a really good job by helping people with these kind of things. So that's my recommendation. It's not that hard to switch careers. We do it all the time with our students. And I've done it for 20 years. I've helped people do it. The program that we have that helps people go through that is the Cloud Architect Career Development Program. I'm popping the link to that there in case you couldn't see it earlier, along with a 20% off coupon. And sometimes people have questions for me about that, so I'm going to even put my phone number here. Just, I don't want to see anybody spend years and years and years going down a path and not getting to their goals. So the next question I see is from Harith Sridhar. Do you need any programming knowledge for an AWS job? No. I'm going to say this again. No. The reason I'm going to say this is it depends on the job that you want. As a cloud architect, if you desire to be a cloud architect, you will never program in your entire life. I have been an architect for 25 years now. I have never written a script or a program in my entire life. I wouldn't know how to, but I do know how to meet with the CEO. I do know how to meet with the CIO. I know how to build a team of 16 cloud engineers and design something and build something incredible for my customers. I know how to find the sysops people to do the Terraform and scripting and programming. I know how to find the Devops people to basically work with that. Cloud architecture is a team sport. You got an architect that's a customer-facing role. You've got a cloud security architect. You've got a cloud IAM architect, and IAM and security are not the same, even though they're together. You're going to have a cloud network architect. You're going to have you're going to have an application architect. You're going to have some cloud network architects, and many more on your team. And then your team is going to have some cloud engineers that are experts at building and configuring it. So what will happen is the architectural team will design it. Then they'll turn it over to cloud engineers to build it, and they should have some programming background. And then after the engineers build it, they're going to turn it over to a sysops team to manage it. And these are your Terraform people, and these are your scripting people. So it really depends on where you want to be, Harith. So if you tell me where you want to be in the ultimate job you want, then I can tell you exactly the skills that you need. But you don't need to be a coder to work as a cloud architect. Same thing for you, Stephen. It depends what you want to actually do in the cloud. Stephen, or do you know what job you desire to do in the cloud? Okay, so Stephen, it's all dependent upon the job that you desire. So if you can tell me the job that you desire, I can tell you the skill set that's necessary to achieve it. I can't tell you the skill set that's necessary until I know the exact job, because these jobs are very, very different. Madison, your retail cosmetics background, that's great. That means you have some sales skills. How can my experience in retail sales help you as a cloud architect? Great question, Madison, and that is actually, so I look at 3 or 4 backgrounds that I absolutely love working with. I love working with sales professionals, I love working with medical professionals, and I like working with people that were engineers or architects in another field, and I'm going to tell you why. When it comes to being a cloud architect, half of the job in most cases could be sales. And the reason is you're meeting with a client, you're going to ask their business, their legal, their technical requirements. You're going to ask their business pain points, their technical challenges, the current state of their systems, the future goals of their systems. All this stuff is super important. So you're going to have to ask all these questions. And then you're going to go back and you're going to make a hypothesis. You're going to go back to your office and you're going to design it. And you're going to design it and you're going to write it up and you're going to build a presentation. And then you're going to almost deliver a sales presentation back to the customer. You're going to present your solution. You're going to show them why it's the right solution. Then you're going to give them the substantiating evidence. And then the sales team, the account managers, are going to try and close the sale. Now, realistically speaking, what's going to happen in most cases, you're going to design the systems for them and present them, and then they're going to say, we like this, 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 and this, but not this. So then you're going to send it back to you. You're going to redesign it or add some tunes, and you're going to present it back to them again. And this could happen multiple times. But sales is critical. So what are the most critical skills for a cloud architect? I'm going to tell you right now. Presentation skills, emotional intelligence, the ability to write, the ability to teach, the ability to mentor others. Because remember, you're going to be working with the clients. You're going to be describing a solution, along with knowledge of the network and the data center technologies and the cloud technologies. So Stephen, if you wish to follow the developer route, what kind of developer? Meaning a software developer, or do you mean DevOps developer? Because that will DevOps or software. Because as developer, programming is necessary. DevOps is still necessary, but that's a combination between operations as well as development. So Stefan, if you want to let me know. No, look, I didn't see your question, so I'm going to go try and find it. It's hard. A lot of these questions come very fast. Still trying to find your question, though. I see. Good morning, Mike. Oh, if someone wants to start a career as a cloud, should one become an infrastructure architect first? No. No, look, here's the shortest distance between 2 points as a straight line. Every single day that you work, you're not working as a cloud architect or cloud security architect, is potentially costing you $600. The average cloud architect earns $593 a day, and a very good cloud architect earns well over $1,000 a day. $1,200, $1,300, $1,400. I get these jobs. The requests come when you're senior. They just come to you almost every day. So if it takes you another 6 months to learn the cloud infrastructure just to be a cloud security, it's costing you between $75,000 and $150,000 based upon how good you are. So if you want to be a cloud security architect, here's what you focus on. You focus on first getting good cloud knowledge and what are the systems, how do they work, and why you would use them. Because you still need the infrastructure knowledge of the data center. Because as a security person, if you don't understand how things work, you're not going to be able to lock them down. So you still should do all those labs that we talk about. After that, you should get certified as the Certified Solution Architect Professional, because that's basically your minimum ticket to entry to getting a decent cloud job in today's world. Then you need some security training. Security training will be working with Kali Linux, for example. It will be based on learning how to write a policy. And the security training that we recommend, that we use with our students, we have to help our students get into these trainings or for the exams, but we do it all the time, is the CEH or the CISSP. They're the only 2 security certifications we ever recommend unless you want to work for the U.S. government, in which case then we would recommend the Security Plus. But we don't recommend that as a primary approach. We recommend the CEH and the CISSP because they're 2 certifications that are going to build you a beautiful portfolio. You combine that with the Certified Solutions Architect Professional, and now you've got an exceptionally good portfolio to show hiring managers that you're someone serious, to be taken seriously, and that's how you build a career. These are our recommendations, and this is typically what we do. Now, of course, no luck. To build one of these cloud security architect jobs and to get one, you must be a great presenter. You must be a great speaker. You must be emotionally intelligent. You need to practice your interviews. All this goes to the cloud architect. And the reason it is, the cloud architect is a cross between an executive and often a salesperson, as well as an engineer. So you're the person that's going to take the business requirements and design the tech that's going to solve the business requirements so the engineers can go build it when you're done. So that would be that would be my recommendation. Did I answer your question, Nola? Okay, good. Okay, Prakash. Okay, Prakash, my video on the certified solution resulted in only got a score of 707. You passed. I will tell you that when we do our certification training, we always recommend a practice test regardless of anything, but our certification training is much more based on outcomes and jobs than certification questions. There's a difference. I could get all of you to pass a certification exam with a 100% score, but when you'd be done the exam, and you went on an interview and someone asked you what architecture is, unfortunately, it wouldn't be enough. So I focus on giving you what's necessary to be a functional cloud architect, and that's going to be different than the certification. So the fact that you passed is perfect. That's really what we're looking for. We're looking for a pass, but we're looking to increase your knowledge. Knowledge is different than what's necessary to pass these exams. So I'll take any win that's there. Okay, Stefan Mandiana, you want to develop software? For you, your path should be exactly what any other software developer is. Nothing changes for the cloud other than you should get some kind of a cloud architecture certification like the Certified Solution Architect or ideally professional. The Certified Solution Architect Associate, it's kind of an intro cert. So if you had the professional, it would make you a better software developer. But whatever software you want to code, that's the kind of languages you need to learn. So you have to figure out what types of software that you're interested in and the kinds of software they use. We're not really in the business of creating developers. We're in the business of creating cloud architects. Stephen, all you were saying is actually said me. All I'm saying was actually said to me by someone else, nothing of my own, because I don't really know where I must go through it. No, I understand that, Stefan. It's just that I'm happy to guide you in anything, but I don't really coach software developers because I'm not a software developer. I'm an architect. So I will tell you that if you want to do software in the cloud, it's the same process as any software developer, but you're going to need to have some good cloud knowledge. Because in the cloud, some of these libraries are pre-made for you, and a lot of the things are easier on the cloud because you don't have to do as much work. But if you study to be a software developer and then you get some cloud knowledge, you should be in good shape. But if you wanted to do something architecture-wise, Stefan, I'm not sure how you pronounce your name, I'm more than happy to guide you, but I'm not an expert on coaching software developers. I try and only provide guidance in places where I've got real expertise because I don't want to give you bad information. I want to give you information that I know that can make you successful in 90% of all cases. Manny, what sort of a role can you take in the cloud arena? There's a lot of different kind of roles, so I have to figure out what you like. So I'll give you the main roles that exist, but there's a lot of variations in the roles. There's the cloud architect role, which is my preferred role because it has the most career potential, it typically pays the best, and it offers you a lot of upward mobility, both in terms of architecture work, but also in terms of the business side if you're interested in that. So the architect is going to be the customer-facing position, someone that's going to be an expert at asking questions, listening to questions, evaluating the systems, looking holistically at how everything works together, and then designs the solution for the customer. That is what an architect does. A cloud engineer, by comparison, is an expert on building it. So after the cloud architect designs it, they hand it over to the cloud engineer. The cloud engineer is an expert at all the idiosyncrasies and all the features and functions of these things. So they're going to have to know everything. They're going to be the configuration person, they're going to be the command line person, the management console person, they're going to be great with CloudFormation and all these other things. They're a builder. And lots of work, hard work, and but but realistically speaking, just understand what that is. And then there's DevOps, which are people that are cross between developers and operations people. And these folks actually help people with automating the software design release process, coming up with faster software release schedules. So that's one of the types of jobs. Now there's SysOps people, which are the operations people. These are typically the people that would just sit in a NOC all day and stare at the screen and see what's going on, and then optimize things and patch things and find more efficient ways to automate things like with scripting and Terraform. That's your SysOps people. So we've covered your architect, we've covered your SysOps, your DevOps, your engineer. Now you will find cloud architects to focus on, there are cloud security architects that focus on security. There are cloud infrastructure architects like me that focus on the network and the systems and the servers and the load balancers and things like that. There are cloud IAM architects that focus on just IAM. And there are, I'm missing a few of them. There are automation architects that just focus on exclusively automation. They're predominantly, there's a cloud network architect too, which is kind of an infrastructure architect. They're predominantly your cloud jobs, but it's like anything else. Database administration has jobs on the cloud. Software developers still work on the cloud. So pretty much any tech position that existed before still exists on the cloud. It's just that it's a lot harder to do it the traditional way of the network and the data center than it is the cloud way. And because of this, what you actually find is a lot more things that are going on. So pretty much any job you could pretty much ever want to do is available on the cloud. If you've got a specific one, Manny, that you'd like some questions on or some guidance on how to get there, I would be happy to guide you. But you've got to let me know. Okay. Stefan, it all comes back. Will I succeed in the cloud without any software or engineering background? Stefan, it depends on what the job you want. If you want to be a cloud architect, you'll be highly successful in the cloud with no software engineering background. If you want to do software development, well, you're going to have to need how to code. If you want to do DevOps, you're going to have to know how to code. If you want to do SysOps, you're going to have to know how to code. If you want to be a cloud engineer, a little bit of scripting might be helpful. But if you're a cloud architect, it's not necessary because you're not going to be at the management console, the command line, or programming probably ever in your career. So I hope I answered your question. If you've got a further question, I'll happily answer that. Actually, Stephen, most things in the cloud are not related to software development. What's going on is most things in the cloud that you're exposed to and certifications are related to software development. But 90% of what goes on the cloud is not. It's compute, it's storage, it's network. Everything that you set up is not software. Organizations that have 10,000 remote locations, 20,000 remote locations, constant. There are more of them than you can imagine. I've worked on them constantly. 50,000 plus subnets in an enterprise is nothing. I've had 25 years, and I've built and designed the cloud, and I've consulted to the cloud. And I will tell you, the people that I went to school with and trained with for my CCIXs, they are all working as principal cloud architects for the big cloud providers, and none of them could ever program anything in their entire life. It's not their skill set. So programming is necessary for SysOps, DevOps roles, and potentially engineering roles, but not architecture roles. So you need to know exactly what kind of roles what are your desire to know exactly what skill set you need. So Stefan, if you're interested in a cloud architect, you don't need to code. Cloud engineer, a little bit. Cloud SysOps, very important. Cloud DevOps, critically important. Software developer, critically important. So if you know the job, Stefan, then you know exactly what to study. No luck. So, and I see no luck, and then Madison, I see a good question, and then I've got another one. Kindly let us know how your development would help build us soft skills. Absolutely. Does it contain videos, or how do we get practice? Okay, so no luck. We've got a pretty big successful program that's running right now. We've got about 110 students in it. I've been doing this for 2 decades. We run our program the following way. Twice per week we have live instruction. And in our live instruction, we teach architecture and or soft skills twice per week. These are live 2 to 3 hour calls twice per week. We have videos related to, what's the word I'm looking for? We have videos related to soft skills, emotional intelligence, and tech things. There are homework assignments that you submit throughout the week, and including presentations that are via video, and we give you feedback on them. So we do this for 16 weeks straight. We have you deliver presentations. We have you become a lead architect for projects with the team supporting you. And of course it develops soft skills. 50% of my program is related to soft skills. I have no choice. Soft skills matter so much for the following. Individuals with higher levels of emotional intelligence earn on average $29.6 thousand more per year than individuals with lower levels of emotional intelligence. You can look this up any day of the week, if you don't want to believe me. So you can see that. It's also a good interview will have a $10,000 to $50,000 difference to in your overall salary. So again, that becomes something that's pretty important, because the more desirable you are, the better. But when it comes to getting your first tech job, that experience matters so much more. And the reason it matters so much more is when you are looking for something and you're partially qualified, but not completely, we have to make you so desirable. For example, if you were to buy a used or a pre-owned car, they're not going to have dirt and mud on it when they're trying to sell it to you. They're going to clean it, they're going to wax it, they're going to polish it up, they're going to fix anything that doesn't look right, and that way you're going to be more likely to buy the car at a higher price. Same thing when someone sells a house. They don't just sell it dirty, they clean it, they paint some, they fix some things. These things really matter. So because of that, that's why we focus on these things. So we spend a tremendous amount of time on soft skills, emotional intelligence. And if you've got some questions, you're more than welcome to ask me these questions. And you can call me if you desire. I'll leave my phone number. I have too many phone calls as is. But I will definitely get back to you if you're curious. And I'm putting a link here that I want you all to see. The reason I'm putting it here is just to let you guys know before I get to the next question. The way organizations work, you've got a CEO, and underneath the CEO sets the strategy for the organization. Directly underneath the CEO, you've got the CIO, who helps the CEO get to their goals through technology. The CIO hires the VP of IT, who hires the director of IT, who hires the hiring manager. So the CIO is responsible for everything that goes on in your organization and what employees do. So Gartner, actually, who does exams, actually started asking people, what is it that you want in a cloud architect? And the reason they did is so few people actually knew what it was. So when CIOs were polled, they said, we want someone that can lead the cultural change for cloud adoption, someone that can develop and coordinate an architecture, someone that can develop a cloud strategy, someone that can help find talent, someone that can assess application software and hardware, someone that can create a cloud broker team, someone that can establish best practices across the company, someone that can help provide third-party cloud providers like AWS, GCP, Azure, someone that can oversee governance and mitigate risk, someone that can work with the IT security people to make sure the systems are secure, someone that can manage a budget and operate at scale. See, they're even the CIO determines what they're going to hire. That's what they hire. It's this business technology professional. If it goes to HR, they have no idea, and that's why HR comes up with silly things on their resume. That's why you should try to always avoid going to HR when you're finding a job. You should have a good couple of recruiters in your systems, and the recruiters in your systems will definitely be able to help you go straight to the hiring manager and stay away from, what's the word I'm looking for? Stay away from HR. So that's our process, and if you've got any more questions, I'm happy to answer them, and in any way, shape, or form. Some people are asking me about my career development program, so I'm going to post a link to it again with the coupon code, and then after that, I'm going to go back and answer the next question, because it looks like there's a bunch of questions. Some I'm going to ask the tech questions first, and then there's some questions related to my program that I'm going to ask next. So, Madison, question. Is the CC Enterprise great for getting deeper knowledge of network systems? For our people that we want to really work as cloud infrastructure architects, we recommend the following. Obviously, the labs that we talked about, and if you're curious, you can call me and we can talk about them. We love the CCNP Enterprise. It is great. Or the CCNP Data Center, because it gives you knowledge of the network and how the systems work at a level and depth that is about 10 times deeper than the AWS Certified Solution Architect Professional. You combine that with a Certified Solution Architect Professional, get some Linux knowledge, focus on your presentation skills, your soft skills, your emotional intelligence, and business writing skills, and you have a great cloud computing career. So Madison, that's a great certification and it's one of our favorites. Raymond, and if anybody misses me and I don't, because there's a lot of questions that come in, feel free to repeat your question because I promise I'll get to everyone. Good morning, Mike. If you take your develop, how important will it be to take the certifications after the course? So Ramya, during the course, while we're doing the training, we have you concurrently doing the certification training, our training that's there. The certification themselves, realistically speaking, don't teach you that much, but they do help you get an interview. So where people use certification wrong is they do their certification training, they get too many certifications, and then they look unfocused. Their certifications aren't meaning like if you've got a sysops, a Devops, and an associate, and then another associate, it's meaningless to the employer because each associate level certification isn't enough is a basic intro. And you look totally unfocused. Does this person want to be an architect? Do they want to be a sysops person? Do they want to be a DevOps person? People want people that know what they want and they know what they're, so, you will be taking certifications in our program because we want the certifications to stand out on your resume. We've got certain resume things that we like. So like, for example, in the top line of my resume, it says Mike Gibbs, MS, MBA, CCIE, Google Professional Cloud Architect, and then sometimes I list an Amazon cert or two. Not always. I list the biggest and most valuable ones first. And I put that on the top line. So it makes me look qualified to get me an interview. Now, when I get on the interview, that's where people that are just certified only fail because they get an interview, you get asked questions, and then they fail the interview. So we don't want that. We want you to be successful. So inside of my program, you have access to the Certified Solution Architect Associate and Professional, as well as Advanced Networking and Security. And we also teach you networking. We also teach you security, so you'd be better prepared for a CEH or a CISSP. We also teach you the network, and we also teach you the data center, because all these things matter, along with the soft skills, emotional intelligence. So it is important for you to get the certifications if you don't have a lot of experience on your resume, because the certifications help you get an interview, but the certifications become very easy when you understand how and the why everything works. So the certifications are just part of the process, but when it comes to getting your first cloud job, I'd say the certifications are about 10% of everything that matters. The other 90% is related to understanding of systems and system design. That's 50%, and the other 50% is related to your soft skills. So these kind of things are super important. So if you train with us, we have a plan and a program for everything, and we've used it successfully for 2 decades. If you're doing it on your own, again, that's totally a great option. Make sure you build a cloud. Make sure you build all the technology that makes the cloud possible. Find some CIOs that you can interview and ask what they're doing in their systems, or at least somebody or at least a VP of IT or higher, so you can ask the business, legal, technical, and regulatory requirements that organizations care about. So make sure you set all these server things up. So make sure you get at least a 16-core server with 128 gigs of RAM. Get a Certified Solutions Architect Professional. Learn all the technologies that are there and be able to explain every technology, like my students can, in 3 minutes or less of how it works. Meaning, like block storage, object storage, virtualization, containers, how a firewall works, what an IDS system is. Be able to explain every one of those technologies, what it is, how it works, and why you would use it, and be able to explain architectural choices and decisions and complicated things on an interview, and be able to present on an interview. I will tell you that in 25 years, I've only been on 5 interviews, and I've been hired by all 5 companies, but I had to present on 3 out of the 5 interviews, and it was the presentation skills that sealed the deal. So make sure you do all these things. So Ramya, that's my perspective. Did I answer your question, Ramya? Stefan, we absolutely have a payment plan on the program. The coupon that I provided will enable you to split it amongst 3 payments. Was Lab? Yes, I could write a book on horrible job posting descriptions that I've seen too. I could write a complete and total book of cut and paste. I would call it cut and paste gone wrong, where someone that doesn't know what a cloud architect is doesn't know what to hire, but they know they need one, so they go to Indeed or Dice or some other job website and they cut and paste the job description. They're like, but I need my person to know networking. So then they add the networking things. And then the next person that needs a cloud architect and they don't know why, because their CIO said we need cloud architects, we're moving to the cloud, then says, I need somebody that's got great software skills. So then they add this because they didn't need a cloud architect, they needed a cloud developer, but they didn't know, so they hired it, but they all called it cloud architect. Then the next thing that comes down is somebody needs sysops, but they call it cloud architect. And then you get what I call the 30-page job description that you never even know what it is, and it's completely unrelated to the cloud. I just got a really nice, I get a lot because people reach out to me almost every day to go work as a cloud architect for really great jobs because I publish a lot, and it's very hard to find people that can actually talk about the technology understand the technology, how it works, and why you would use it. So people reach out to me every day, and someone reached out to me yesterday, and I'm going to pass it on to my team because I've got 60 plus recruiters on my network, and I try and use the recruiters on my network to help my people find jobs, avoiding HR. So I do it all the time. I'm constantly reaching out. But here's what the first thing said: Cloud Architect is a job title. And then it said in the description, the cloud security engineer will be responsible for X, Y, and Z. And it went on and on about all the cloud security engineering. And it was on the same job description. And this was a very sophisticated recruiting company, one of the best that I've seen. So even them, at that level, they're sort of there. So yeah, I could write a book on bad job descriptions too. Ramya Menon, which certifications are good for, what do I recommend for cloud architects? Ramya, it depends on the type of cloud architect you desire to be. What I mean by that, it's a different plan for a cloud infrastructure architect than it is for a cloud security architect, than it is for an cloud IAM architect, versus that it is for a cloud database architect. And in our programs, we basically help people find their goals, and then we come up with a certification portfolio. If you'd like to tell me your goal career, Ramya, I'm happy to give you some certifications. I also need to know your current background, Ramya, because here's the way we're using certifications. We're not just going to tell you to get a bunch of certifications. We want to use these certifications to help you get an interview. So what I mean by that is if you've been in networking for 10, 20 years but don't have the CCNA, don't worry about it if you understand the network. You don't need it because you've got something to substantiate it. If you've been a Linux admin for 20 years, again, you're not realistically speaking in the position where you need to be thinking about, getting a Linux certification because you already have it. So I need to know your starting point, and I need to know exactly your destination. And if you tell me those things, I can recommend the certifications that are going to fill in the gaps of your resumes to make the hiring managers look and say, I need to see this resume to give you the best opportunity to get an interview. And then beyond that, it's up to your skills to get hired. So if you want to give me that information, Ramya, I'm very happy to help you. And I'll drop my number again as well. And I just want to make sure that I guide you properly. I don't ever want to be in a position where you ask a question and I give you generic answers, and the generic answers aren't good enough to get you to your goals. Every day that you're not working as a cloud architect roughly costs you about $600 for the average cloud architect, not a good one, but an average one. So I don't want you to go down a 3-month path because I don't have the right information, which could cost you about $40,000. So I want to have the best information to guide you. Well, I have recruiters everywhere. I don't have that many in India. I have some, but not that many. But I have recruiters everywhere, and I add them constantly. And if I've got a lot of students based in a certain area, and I have about 10 in India, so I need to get more, I just reach out to them, and it's very easy for me to find recruiters. All I have to do is to tell recruiters the following. I show them my CV, and I tell them that I run a cloud architect career development program where I take people that are either new or certified, and then I teach them the cloud. I teach them soft skills. I teach them emotional intelligence. I teach them interview preparation. I make them build all the things. I make them do all the labs. And the recruiters do this. They're like, oh my God. They're like, your people are going to get hired. I said, that's the whole point. I said, because my people are going to get hired and they're easy. I said, by the way, I know that you get paid $20,000 to $50,000 to go find somebody one of these jobs. And they do. They said, all my people need to go on is 1 or 2 interviews. They're not going to damage your reputation. They're going to be easy to hire. So I can easily find more recruiters in India. That's not a problem. And I need to do so this week. So I'll reach out to about 10 recruiters minimum before the end of the day. Not for you because you're asking the question, but because I've got a lot of new students in India. But if you want to be part of our program, we'd love to work with you. We'll have enough recruiters there to assist you. Of course, we're going to want you to get your own too, because recruiters are there. But we have a great relationship with recruiters. They love working with us. Let's see. Surrender. Great advice, Michael. I've always watched your videos whenever possible, even though you didn't sign up for any program. Well, thank you for watching. You're seeing candidates having no clue when they interview for, it's true. I will tell you that I've interviewed over 5,000 people in my life. I can remember 6 of them being really good. And those 6 people, I literally hired on the spot before they left the first interview because they were so good, I didn't want them going to a competitor. So yes, 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 I am going to tell you that I highly recommend preparing for these things. And I will tell you, it's that hard to get on an interview. And I'm going to tell you what really happens, what crushes most interviews. It's going to sound crazy. So in reality, it's this simple. You go on an interview, I ask a technical question. When I'm asking a technical question, here's what I'm looking for. Do you know how it works? Do you understand all the things and components? But it's not just that. Can you describe the tech to me? Can you explain to me what it is, how it works, why I would use it? Could you frame it in a way that makes complete and total sense for me? If you can, I know you've got the verbal skills and the presentation skills and the sales skills that are just so critical for these kind of jobs. So when we ask these kind of questions, it matters just so much to us. It's just so critical. Can you describe it? And I will tell you, what most people do when they don't know the answer to a question, like if, for example, if I were to say, tell me how BGP selects a path. If someone says BGP is a TCP port protocol, port 179, and I ask them, how does BGP select a path? Not going to satisfy me. Bluffing to me, lying to me, thinking I'm not going to know better, not going to do anything for me. Don't recommend it ever, ever, ever. So, don't recommend it. And what I do recommend is being honest, because when you look at things that hiring managers desire, they desire someone that's competent, meaning someone that can do the job. They desire someone they can trust. Employers desire after someone they can trust, someone that knows what they know and knows what they don't know, so they don't make any mistakes. After that, they're looking for energetic, enthusiastic individuals. Really critical. They're looking for individuals that are called energizers that bring out the best in others. Organizations are looking for people that are team players, and organizations are looking for people that go above and beyond. So if you're on an interview and someone asks you a question that you don't know, don't lie, because that's where 99% of all interviews go bad. So I completely agree with you, Surrender. These interviews, they're a disaster 99% of the time, and they don't need to be. If all the person did was said, I'm sorry I've not had the opportunity to work with that technology. I'm highly motivated, highly energetic, highly enthusiastic. I know what I know, and I know what I don't know, and I know how to find the answers to things that I don't know very quickly. But I do know about X, Y, and Z. And if I was part of this company, I would learn whatever skills are necessary because I'm highly motivated. That changes everything. So instead of lying, which basically causes us to end the interview, even though we're going to be polite through the rest of it, you just told me you just checked off most of the boxes I care about as a manager. First, you told me you're trustworthy. Ding, ding, ding. I already like you. Then you told me you're energetic, you're enthusiastic, you're passionate. Then which again, 3 of the things that I care about. Then you told me you know what you know and know what you don't know, which means I know that you're safe. And then you told me that you would learn anything that I needed. Wow, that means you're motivated and willing to go above and beyond. You just showed me that you're a hiring manager's dream by showing me you didn't actually know the answer as opposed to lying me. Now, when you pointed me to 3 things psychologically, and I come from this from a psychology perspective, you have to remember that I practiced medicine as a nurse practitioner, internal medicine first, and I kind of spent a lot of time studying psychology, and I studied psychology and sociology my entire life. I always read at least 1 book a week on it because I found it fascinating, and it was part of getting people hired. It's a true understanding of how people think and how they work. So I focus a lot of science on this. So that's kind of the way I look at the world. So when you're on an interview, make sure you do a great job on the interview. Make sure you're honest, you're enthusiastic. Don't go on an interview if you're not ready because you're just going to burn your name with that thing. So again, shouldn't ever have to go on more than 3 interviews to get a job. If you're going on more than 3 interviews, either there's a competency problem, there's an attitude problem, or most likely there's a communication skills or an interview problem. Shouldn't have to go on more than them. That's why we do so much interview training. Plus, interview training is very critical for getting you hired. So I agree with you, Surrender. Most of these interviews are pretty horrible. Okay, Stefan Mengia, is it possible to get a job as a novice? It is June, so July, August, September, October, November, December. Yes, I would say it's possible for 80% of the population to get a job 6 months later, assuming they do the work. If you've got no tech background, you're probably dealing with about 20 hours a week per work in a study program like mine to get there. People could do it 10 hours a week if they had a tech background and be fine. But with no background in tech, you're really dealing with about 6 months, potentially 9 months, but typically 6 to 9 months is pretty easy to go from not working in tech to getting a great cloud job. But it takes focused education and focused training. I do it all the time, 6 to 9 months. I had someone recently that was in my program for 4 weeks that got their first tech job, but that is very unrealistic. This person just happened to get lucky. They got 2 interviews. They bought an interview coaching session for each interview with me, and then because they were actually did an additional interview session with them, prepped them for the interview, and this person got hired within literally 4 weeks of my program. That is atypical. 6 to 9 months is normal for people that have no background in tech to get a good job. 6 months is achievable based upon how hard you work. So I hope I answered your question there, Stefan. Liv Levy, what a great name. Just joining if this was covered. You're sorry, don't worry about it. Just so happy you're here. 20 years of networking experience, currently studying for an SSAA, looking to work fully remote. So, do I have any suggestions for you? Yes. So, the question I have, you said 20 years networking experience. So, Liv Livy, I don't know what that networking experience is. Everybody has a lot of different definitions of networking. Have you designed BGP architectures where you're basically load sharing across redundant connections and familiar with BGP communities, familiar with BGP route filtering? Are you familiar with designing access lists in the routers? Are you familiar with designing OSPF, for example, for optimal performance? Have you done any work with NAT on these routers? Have you done any switching VLANs, private VLANs? Have you done any IP addressing kind of things in terms of designing an IP addressing plan? So Liv Livy, if you give me an exact background of your networking knowledge, I can easily tell you how to get hired as a cloud architect. Networking knowledge is so helpful, and we can definitely I can give you a lot more guidance if you want to give me a little background, Liv Livy, about that. I'd love to give you more guidance. So if you can just sort of help me out there a little bit. You start off as a software developer. That's what Fuse is designing and costing for infrastructure. You're looking for cloud infrastructure architect. That's a great place to be. So, Ramya, cloud infrastructure architect. You got some software developer background. And then Liv Livy, I'm great. I'm looking for the information you're at. So, Ramya, you start off as a software developer with Fuse of experience on designing and costing for infrastructure, looking for cloud infrastructure. Yeah, Ramya, that would be an easier one to work with because you've got something and you've got some design background. So we'd have you do some networking training. We'd have you do some Linux training. And so some network training, some Linux training, and we'd have you get some deep data center network knowledge. You'd be an easy person to place there, Ramya. We could work with you in about 16 weeks. You should be good to go. So Liv Livy, no BGP, okay, some NAT, switching a VLAN experience, went from desktop support to CIO, that's great. So, in your case, I would make sure that you have a little deeper knowledge of networking. So, you say switching and VLAN experience, I didn't see any routing protocol work there. I didn't see any IP subnetting kind of things like that. I didn't see any kind of architectural design there. So I would say something like a CCDA or a CCDP, like a Cisco certified design thing would kind of be good because you've got some networking things there, but that's more of an architecture certification. I would love to see that there for you. I would also like to see a Linux certification, and love that you became a CIO because that means you've got some soft skills, emotional intelligence, presentation skills. And I think you'd be in great shape. So I think that's what I would do if I was you. But if you give me more information or you want to call me, obviously I've listed my note number and things like that. I'll do it again to make it feasible if you've got questions that aren't too hard to ask in the chat, although if you can ask it in the chat, that's wonderful. But I'm just trying to give you options to make sure we get to you and give you the best information we can. Because I think you're actually in a really good position with a little guidance to get to some really great places, especially since you worked as the CIO. Katie, on-site for a cloud, do you have any suggestions or tip for me? When is yours? I actually have a video that I'm going to release on Friday. And in this video that I actually released, I actually did a live cloud architect interview. So much so that what we did is I walked through the things that the hiring managers desire. After I walked through the things that the hiring managers desired, what I then did is I actually had someone from my team interview me the way that you should do it. Like I said, I've been on 5 interviews in my life and I've been hired by all 5 employers. So I'm pretty good at interviews, plus I've been coaching interviews for an extremely long period of time, so that's kind of my recommendation there. So we can do that. I can get that. That video will be coming out on Friday morning. I don't know if you have seen it yet. If not, there are at least 15 to 20 videos on my channel. Some of them are on interview questions, and my screen's looking fuzzy. I'm going to just try and blank my camera for a second and restart it again. So hopefully that makes it a little better. So I would watch these videos. My recommendations prior to the interview are as follows. Make sure you have 60-second ready. When someone says, tell me about yourself, I want you to have an answer. Very obvious that's going to be seen for everyone else. A tell me about yourself thing should be something like, hi, my name's Katya. I've been working in tech for 10 years. I'm highly motivated, I'm highly energetic, I'm highly enthusiastic. I have expertise in X, Y, and Z. Something that's going to hit them hard. You've been working for a while. This is your area of specialty. And, oh, by the way, you've got the attitude qualities that they care about. Start it in there. So kick it off. Now, the next thing that you need to know, because it happens on most interviews, why should I hire you? Why is that important? Because this is your last chance to sell them on why they need you. So I would say definitely this is a pretty critical thing to do on an interview. I would say you need to be able to explain 3 to 5 technologies, Katya, in depth. What do I mean by that? Pick something that you're passionate about. Talk about how a firewall works or how an IDS system works. Talk about no storage, no virtualization, no networking. Make sure you know 3 to 5 areas and know them very, very well. Be able to get into deep depth about what is the service, how does it work, and why you would use it. Practice this question. I'm sorry, practice this answer. If someone asks you a question that you don't know, get used to being able to say, I'm sorry, I've not had the opportunity to learn that technology yet, but I'm highly motivated, I'm energetic, I'm enthusiastic, I know what I know and I know what I don't know. And if I was part of your team, I would learn whatever's necessary to be able to be effective on this job and help you make your life better. Get used to that because you need to be, but I do know these following technologies and they're the 3 to 5 things that you practiced. So do not let the interview control you. You control the interview. Don't let the interview control you. You control it. You are in charge. You are the owner of the interview, and because of that, these are the things that I highly recommend. Now, if you are lucky enough to get asked a question for which you know the answer to, wow them. I mean, literally wow them. And I call this the shutdown the interview technique. And I have had success with this on 3 out of my 5 interviews for which I've been hired on. And my students have had success with this almost every time they've ever used it. Here's what the shutdown the interview technique is. I've spent most of my life in networking. If someone asked Mike, tell me about OSPF, Open Shortest Path First, the routing protocol, I wouldn't just say it's a routing protocol. I would not do that. I would say OSPF is a link state routing protocol. The way link state routing protocols work is every device on the system advertises all of its links, and then all the surrounding routers look at the links that are advertised, and it builds a table. And then after it builds this table, it runs the Jigsaw algorithm or the shortest path first algorithm, which then determines the best path of the network. Because you have these messages that come out, which are called LSAs, you have a lot of different kinds of them. For example, inside of an area, you have a type 1 and a type 2 LSA. Between areas, you have a type 3, you have a type 4, which talks about how to reach things that are outside of your domain, meaning it's related to ASBR reachability. A type 5 LSA gives you information about external links, and then I'd go on type 7s and what have you. But that's the way you answer a question. So if you are lucky enough to be asked a question that you really know a lot about something, wow them. Give them the succinct, the practiced, the articulate data dump and prove that you're an expert, but do it with a good story and a good knowledge, and it will shut down the interview like you've never seen. I will tell you, I've used it successfully. Somebody asks you a question, you answer it like that, and they don't need to check your technical competency anymore. And the competency starts to change to, would you like to meet the team? Tell me about yourself, so all that. So just make sure these are the things that I would do ahead of time. On Friday, Katya, I have a video that's going to not only tell you what managers want, I'm going to demo how to do the interview correctly, and then after that we do a post-mortem of the interview where we talk about the words that I said and the keywords that I used and the psychology and sociological reasons I used them for the hiring manager. So that's coming out Friday. So if it's after Friday, I hope that works for you. So Katya, did I answer your questions? Okay. Well, if you have any more questions, Katya, you let me know, and I am always happy to do anything that I can. Arona, wow, I'm so happy to see you here. You always, honestly, have some of the nicest and most decent things to say, and I'm so grateful for all your support. I really am. Thank you so much. What will cloud architects be doing in Internet of Things? You know, that's a really great question. So there's two ways where you can start looking at Internet of Things devices. You can start looking at it from a network perspective, meaning the communication perspective, or the application perspective. So on the network side, you got to start looking at what these IoT devices are. Are they RFID tags? For example, you need an RFID things. Are they purely IP based? You got to figure that out. So you got to figure out the network component of these IoT things. Are they wireless? Are they wired? You know, the IP addressing and all those things. That's your cloud infrastructure architect kind of thing. Now, the next thing is, what do you do with all the streaming data? And while as a rule, I typically like the lift and shift kind of architecture because you can get in and out of the cloud environment very quickly. If they raise your rates, no big deal. This is one of these situations where these IoT devices and the cloud really meld together beautifully. Because after you've got the network straightened out, let's say these things, you've got thousands and thousands and thousands of them, millions of them, they're sending this constant nonstop streaming data at you. And because they're sending this streaming data at you, you know, you can now capture this data with something like AWS Kinesis and then either store it on S3 and analyze it or dump the data somewhere else. You can start analyzing some of these data pieces real time. And after you've analyzed them and stored them, then you can start doing some machine learning things to try and make some good inferences out of them. So that's another place where the cloud architect isn't going to be doing that, but understand that there will be some cloud machine learning people. There's going to be some cloud data science people. Data science is the study of data, where machine learning is a tool that data scientists use. So they're going to be doing that, and that's another career on the cloud. But as the cloud architect, you're going to be designing the systems, meaning the network. You're going to be designing the kinesis and all these other things that are going to ingest the streaming data. And you're also going to be designing the big data architecture, whether you're using things like a Redshift as a data warehouse, whether you're creating a data lake, and whether you're helping to design some of the machine learning processes that may go there in the services like SageMaker, for example, versus, say, a compute instance with a GPU in there. So these are typically the things that you're going to be doing as a cloud architect as it pertains to Internet of Things devices. So, Arona, did I answer your question completely? And if you've got more questions, I'd love to ask them. And again, I really want to thank you for all the wonderful, kind support you've given me and our organization over the last few months. Okay, Katya, I'm glad we were able to answer your question. Stefan, thank you so much. Let's see, does anybody else have any questions? And while we're waiting for some questions to come in, if you guys are having fun, if you guys don't mind either liking the video or subscribing to the channel, it helps us do better and helps us do more of the free initiatives that we have because it signals things that good things are happening with our channel. So if any of you guys are happy and enjoying today and you don't mind, leave a like. Obviously, it's not required if you're not enjoying yourselves. And if you don't want to do it, that's totally fine too. But if you can, it helps us. Who has the next question? No luck? That is a great question. Is cloud native architecture knowledge for the cloud engineer architect? Both. The cloud architect needs to understand how to design it, and the cloud engineer needs to how to build it. So, realistically speaking, they both need to know that. Arona, thanks so much. And Live Lively, another question. What is the average salary for a cloud architect? I will tell you the average in the US is $153,000, $900, which works out to be $593 per day. That is basic average. At the low end, you'll find people around the 110, 120 world. I routinely get offers for well over $300,000 a year as a cloud architect, and I mean routinely, meaning 3 times plus per week. The range of cloud architect salaries is somewhere between that 120 range and the 300 range, sometimes 350, sometimes 400. But the 120 to $300,000 range is typically average. When you start getting above that, you're dealing with people that have exceptionally good levels of soft skills, emotional intelligence, and presentation skills. Because, I've been in that world forever, and, I started out as an engineer, then I moved as an architect, and then as I moved up the senior levels of architecture, I became a cross between an executive, a leader, and an architect, and that's the natural career path. So the better you speak and the better you write, the better your soft skills and emotional intelligence, the higher your salary will be. So statistically speaking, do the research. We have, because everything we do is research-based, individuals with higher levels of emotional intelligence earn $29.6 thousand more per year than those that don't. Doing a great interview can have a $10,000 to $50,000 impact on your salary, because the more desirable you are for the employer, the more they're willing to pay you. So just getting your interview right and your emotional intelligence right can literally add $60,000 to your salary every year, and it's nothing to do that. So it's all based on all of these things. So I'm just being honest. If you want a great cloud job, half of it's tech, but half of it's not. That's soft skills, emotional intelligence, communication skills, presentation, writing skills are equally important, and that's why we focus so much on the training thing. So just make sure that if you're looking for a great job, you focus on all these important things. Corey Singleton, the pay sounds great. How does work-life balance come into play as a solution architect? That is a great question. So I don't think when you're dealing with high-paid roles, there is a such thing as work-life balance. I'll quantify that. So when someone's paying you $300,000 a year, they assume that you care about the company, and they assume that you're going to do anything necessary to make the company be successful. When you start asking employers what they want or their top 10 things, one of them is someone that's willing to go above and beyond. So with regards to work-life balance, I would say when it comes to getting really great careers, it's more important that you're mentally strong, that you can finish a task to completion no matter how tired or frustrated you are. Mental toughness is probably the biggest and most important thing as it pertains to long-term career success after emotional intelligence. Now, having said all of that, here's what a cloud architect job would look like at a bank, for example, which pays really well. You might be there at 7 o'clock in the morning because you have to be there before the market opens. You might work there till 3:30 and be done for the day. You might, or 4:30 or 5 and be done for the day. And that's typical, pretty normal. And you might have to stay late, for example. For example, if you stay late at a bank, typically past 6 o'clock at night, you can take a limousine home because they know you're going to be tired and they want to take good care of you. So you might have an 18-hour day one day, and you may be off for the next 2 days. And then you may have a 16-hour day the next one, and a 10-hour day and a 12-hour day. And then the next week you might do nothing because you're sitting around in your home waiting for people to take you on meetings. So with any of these good jobs, work-life balance, all employers want to talk about it, but I'm not going to say that work-life balance is really something that truly matters unless you want to be a yoga instructor, for example, and I'm a yoga instructor too, and I love yoga. But I would say when you're talking about big jobs and big pay, the employer needs to know that you're willing to do whatever's necessary. Now, could you work a 40-hour week as a cloud architect and be highly successful? 50% of the time? Yes. Some of the time it's going to be a 20-hour week. And some of the time it's going to be a 90-hour week. And that's just part of the life of any good job. I don't care whether it's a doctor. I don't care whether it's an architect. I don't care whether it's a cloud engineer. I don't care whether it's a network engineer. It really doesn't matter. Any good job is going to care that you're there. So I'm not trying to sound negative, and I think you can have a really good life as a cloud architect. I think it'll pay you well. I think you'll be happy. I think you'll have an expense account to be able to take clients out for dinner and drinks. I think you'll get to go to training things, which we call boondoggles. You go to a training week. It'll be a $10,000 training session for the week. The organizations will put you in a great hotel. They'll let you train. You can probably do this 4 times per year and get better in your roles. So all these things are really great. I think you'll earn a lot. I think you'll have a great life. But, if there's work that needs to be done, it just needs to be done. And they need to count on you there. So that's open and honest. And I will tell you, when I worked as an engineer, I had a pretty miserable life. And when I worked as an architect, my life became great. So being an engineer, I was constantly in there. If something broke at 3 o'clock in the morning, I was getting called. And it was daily, daily, daily. And once you reach a certain level of engineering where you're one of the few people that can figure it out, you get involved for everything. But as a cloud architect, it's really a good life, and you'll really have a wonderful time, Corey Singleton. I'm telling you, you're going to love the job if it's something you pursue and you get one. You'll love it. So it's worth the effort to have something that great. Indra Kumar. Okay, yes, totally. So Mohit, desktop support engineer. How to get first cloud job Azure admin, how much networking knowledge is required for the role. So Mohit Malik, desktop support engineer. Windows systems or Linux systems that you're working with? Have you done any networking inside of there? Or is it just help desk work? Any or all of them are great. I just need to know exactly what it is to try and help you figure it out. Also, Windows System Help Desk. Okay. So, Mohit, in your situation, you're going to have to learn the following. You're going to have to still learn the network, what it is, how it works, and why to use it. You still need to understand what is a firewall, what is a router, what is a switch, what is a virtual machine, what is a container, and all those types of things. So realistically speaking, I would build all these things in a server. I then would make sure I understand how everything works together, because you can't configure something if you don't understand it. And then after I knew how the cloud worked, what it is, how to use it, then, then I would find myself in a really great position to do things. As it turns out, we do this every Monday and every Thursday. We actually have a free webinar, and on this webinar, what we actually do is we teach you everything that goes through your first job to get your first cloud job, whether it's assistant, whether it's as an engineer or architect, and it doesn't matter whether it's AWS, doesn't matter whether it's GCP, or it doesn't matter whether it's Azure. The process is identical. And in this process, we cover what hiring managers desire, we cover how to interview, we cover what should be on your resume, we cover what to learn, and we're going to do that tomorrow. And if you'd like to be on that, you can we do it on Zoom, so you'll be able to ask any questions you desire, anywhere, anytime. We'll take you off mood at the end of the presentation. We'll give you a free 10-minute consult and put you on the right track to get your job. Or you can train with us if you desire. In either case, you'll be fine. But we will tell you the complete and total system that we have, how it works. We spent a long time building it. We are totally, totally happy to share our methods. So obviously, we're experts at delivering our methods, but we'll definitely teach you how to do these things should you want to do them on your own. And we'll do that tomorrow. So Mohit, I'd love you to join that message. But realistically speaking, for you, because you don't have much of a background in anything other than just Windows, and on the cloud, you're going to have very minimal Windows, because there's very few servers that are Windows that are out there, except for, say, Active Directory and Exchange. And occasionally some things that are on a Microsoft framework, but most things are not server related. So because of that, we're going to need to get you some Linux skills, we're going to need to get you some networking skills and a few other things. And I'd love to talk about your specific case. Hopefully you can attend that one tomorrow, because yours is going to be more challenging than a lot of them, but we can definitely help you. AWS Solutions, you've got 4 associate level certifications. God. Okay, and now you're looking for your first full-time permanent job in the UK. So, which 4 associate level certifications do you have? I hate when I hear these things, and I definitely am going to help you. AWS Solutions Architect. Which certifications do you have? I hope they're not the SysOps, the DevOps, the Solution Architect Associate, and another one. Could you try to let me know what they are so I can help make the best recommendations for you? Okay, well, here's what I'll say, AWS Solutions Architect, since I don't know your name. Developer, Solution Architect, SysOps, and Cloud Practitioner. Okay, what kind of job would you like on the cloud? AWS Solution Architect. Do you desire to be a cloud architect? Or are you looking for like a SysOps or a developer kind of thing? Solution architect. Okay, so I I sympathize with you. There's some certification providers in Australia, and I swear all they care about is selling certifications. The problem is, unfortunately, that if you want to be a cloud architect, it's not related to SysOps at all, and it's not related to development at all. So if you want to be a cloud architect or a solutions architect, you're going to need to learn architecture, which means do the certified solution architect professional, because that's basically your minimum entry level ticket to a cloud architect job. It's a checklist. The associate level certifications don't mean anything unless you've got a lot of experience, because of the proliferation of what I call Udemy type training and exam dumps and the ability to be able to pass an exam and really not know anything about how the cloud works. So if you want to do this, my recommendation is basically what you're going to do is you will take the Certified Solution Architect Professional, and then you need to learn the cloud, because none of those certifications unfortunately cover the cloud. So you're going to have to learn a little bit of networking, and then you really should set up server virtualization. You should build a container. You should set up firewalls. You should set up proxy servers. You should set up Active Directory. Then when you're done, you should build your own cloud. Then you're going to need to do some architectural case studies. You're going to need to meet with executives. You're going to ask them about their technology solutions, and you're going to have to learn how to design them. So we have a program where we teach people how to do that. And like realistically speaking, to let you know, we never have anybody ever take the cloud practitioner, and we never have anyone do the SysOps or the DevOps unless they went roles there. And the reason we don't do that is they take a lot of time. And if it takes you 6 to 9 months to do that, that's basically costing you between $70,000 and $100,000 of lost earnings. So we really hate that. We know those Australian people really want to sell courses. The 3 Australian providers that are all saying to do that on the way to the pro. I guess the good news is that because you've done the SysOps and the developer, that may help you get 2 or 3 answers correct on the Certified Solution Architect Professional. So it may make that exam possibly 5 to 10% easier for you, which I think is a good win. So at least we'll take that. And then basically do the kind of labs we're talking about. Build everything, and then when you're done, build an OpenStack Ansible cloud, and maybe even a Nutanix cloud. Build a cloud, be great at it, do architectural designs, and you'll be hired. We actually have a nice webinar tomorrow. It's going to be at noon Eastern, which will be 5 p.m. GMT. I'm actually where we talk about the certifications, but my recommendation seriously is to get the professional, but also learn what is the cloud. Learn how to build the cloud, learn how the cloud works, learn why to use these things together. That's going to be your secret. Also, don't focus on any more associate level certifications. Focus on your communication skills, focus on your interview skills, focus on executive presence, emotional intelligence. Like I said, that's how we train people. The Solutions Architect Pro is a great certification. That in our mind is kind of the minimum barrier to entry to getting your first tech job. It's also quite an easy exam when you know the cloud. And if you don't know the cloud, it's one of the most challenging exams you can think of because of the way they ask the questions. So you should be good with that. I'm going to leave the link to my course again. And I'm also going to leave the link to a 20% coupon. And we don't usually record the webinars the How to Get Your First Cloud Job webinars. We would like people to be there live so they can ask questions. We're exploring doing pre-recorded webinars in addition to that, and we may do that in the next week or so, Robert Muta. So if we do, I'll let you know. Liv Livy, what a great question here. What is the difference between being a solutions architect and sysops? Excellent questions. I'm going to make this abundantly clear. So, Liv Lively, a solutions architect is a person that designs systems. It is not a hands-on position. It is a customer-facing position that you meet with a customer, you examine their current systems, you ask their business goals, their legal goals, their regulatory requirements, and their competitive struggles, their financial, everything that relates to their business. And then you design a system. Then when you're done as a cloud architect, the design, that's it, it's over. After that, it gets sent to a cloud engineer who builds it. Now, sysops aren't even the builders. The sysops people are the people that maintain it. So think of an architect as the designer and often the sales team. Not always the sales team, but it was the designer, the engineer as the builder, and the sysops is the maintenance. They're kind of like the maintenance staff that patches things in the middle of the night. They're the people that stare at the screen and think things are up. They're the people that will come up with a CloudFormation template. They're going to be the people that are going to write a Python script. These are going to be the people that are using Terraform. So an architect and sysops are as far away as you can possibly get in terms of career. Architects are designers. Engineers are builders. Sysops people are maintainers. So think of them as the maintenance man or woman of tech as the sysops. Think of the designer as the architect. Think of the engineer or the people that build it. And think of the DevOps people. Again, all smart people, just like sysops. These are all smart people. The DevOps people are the people that work with the developers to automate release cycles. So they're basically your primary cloud careers. Did I answer your question there, Liv Livy? So AWS Solutions Architect, what would be the right way to get some commercial experience? I'll tell you our process. And then Burhan, I'm so sorry I didn't see your question. If I can, I'll try and find it after I answer this question. But I will definitely find it. So, okay, good. Lovely. I answered your question. So Burhan Sophie, please check your question above. Let me see where it is. Does becoming a cloud architecture need a master's degree? Oh God, no. To be done first without any. So you definitely don't need a master's degree. I know cloud architects that don't even have a college degree. So you definitely don't need a master's degree. And we're into cloud architect. But you do need to be knowledgeable, capable, and competent. Knowledgeable, capable, competent with good written skills, good verbal skills, good writing skills, good presentation skills. You do not need a master's degree. I know plenty of cloud architects that don't even have a bachelor's degree or an associate degree, but they've got good communication skills, they've got good networking skills, they've got good cloud skills, they've got good data center skills. So you don't need a master's degree. If you're going to do a master's degree in general in your career, I would advise against anything other than an MBA. You can have a master's degree in technology and it has very minimal things in terms of your long-term performance. Now, getting an expert level certification like the CCIE or the Certified Ethical Hacker with Practical, that will have a massive impact on your career because it's impossible to become a CCIE, like a Cisco Certified Internet Expert, and not have good depth of knowledge. So that will have a big impact on your career. A master's degree, and I have 2 master's degrees, just to put in context. The first one is in nursing because I was a nurse practitioner practicing internal medicine, and the second one is in business. So I got my first job, which was a senior network engineer at the largest internet service provider in the world with no background, no experience, and no degrees in tech. But I did focus exclusively on what recruiters told me, and they told me the soft skills I needed to have, the emotional intelligence I needed to have, the type of presentation skills I needed to have, and what hiring managers desired. And they taught me everything that the hiring manager desired. So when I went on my first interview, I was able to be what the hiring manager wanted, and I got hired on the spot. I didn't even leave that first interview. So the point is it's not necessary to have a master's degree, but you have to be good at everything that you do, and you have to be able to explain it. This is a communication skills position. You must have excellent communication skills in addition to technical competency. Okay, so solution architect, where do you get this kind of experience? I've got two programs where you can get this experience. I have an experience program, which is very inexpensive, that lets you get hands-on experience anywhere. And I also have a program that covers not only the technical experience, but it includes teaching and coaching and the such. To just get experience, um, this is something that I set up to make it inexpensive for people to get real cloud architect experience in their homes. I put together a program because what I've been telling people for the last 10 years is have a server in your home, and with the server start literally setting up all these things, and that's how you're going to learn. And there were some really wonderful people in India, and there were some really wonderful people in Africa that said to me, Mike, I so want a server, but I can't afford to buy a 16-core server with 128 gigs of RAM. So what I did is I bought a bunch of servers, and I created a technical experience only program where you can use my systems, and it costs much less than buying your own server, and you can do all the labs. So I'm going to leave the link to that program along with the coupon for it as well, because I like to give people an opportunity to do things. If you buy this program, great. If not, under the developing technical competency section of this bootcamp or of this training, it gives you a list of every single lab that we recommend you do, so you could do them on your own, you could do them with us. Oh, by the way, because we believe in giving people a lot for their money, in this experience program, we basically teach you what are all the systems in the cloud and how do they work. And then we do all the architectural case studies that you would need to know. And because I ran a AWS bootcamp a few weeks ago, where we covered the Certified Solution Architect Professional, we covered Introduction to Networking, we covered the AWS Advanced Networking and Security. It's free in this program, just like it's also included in my Cloud Architect Career Development Program. So for either case, either one of these situations, you've got access to good labs. I'm popping a 25% off coupon for the Cloud Architect Experience in case you're curious. We really try and use the Cloud Architect Career Development Program because our big goal is getting people hired, and those soft skills and emotional intelligence things just matter so much more. So we do both. Now, Burhan Sophie, how do you prepare for becoming a cloud architecture? Yes, we've got a roadmap that we do for everyone. So what we do, which Burhan, is the following. First thing we do is help you build a career plan based. We got to ask you the right questions. And what is it that you know? What is it that you love? We also look at your past life experience. For example, maybe you moved into sales and you worked in the sales. And if you worked in sales, that gives you some special assets that would change your career development plan. Maybe you worked in customer service and you're really great at taking people that are frustrated and making them happy. It's a different career development plan for you because that's very valuable experience. Maybe you were in medicine like me and you already knew the process, because in medicine, for example, someone comes in, they say, my throat hurts. I ask them some questions about their throat or the rest of their body. I look in their throat, and after I look in their throat, I make a diagnosis and then a treatment plan. You know what I do as a cloud architect? I meet with a client, I ask some questions, I do an exam of the systems, I make a diagnosis, and I build a plan called an architecture. Same process as medicine. So if you give me a little better background about your current job and your current life experience, and then after your current life experience, exactly the kind of cloud architect you want to be, meaning a cloud architect versus a cloud security architect versus a cloud infrastructure architect, happy to give you a roadmap right here, right now. I just need to know that kind of information first, because otherwise, by doing that, I'm not going to be helping you. I don't want to give you any information that's going to keep you from getting for your goals. For example, everything that takes you 1 month costs you basically $12,000 of lost earnings. So the best information I can have gives me the best information to help you the most. So a couple of things to kind of assist you guys. Tomorrow, we're going to have our free How to Get Your First Cloud Architect Job webinar. And I think that will be incredibly helpful for you. And today, one of the most critical skills for a cloud architect is actually presentation skills. And today I released a new video on presentation skills. I I really want every one of you to watch this that was here. You know, what we do for the cloud computing community really matters to us. We care deeply about it, and because we care so deeply about it, we produce so many of these videos. And on the video today that I'm going to be sending you right now, I will tell you we did a lot of things in this video to really help people improve their chances of getting hired, and that's in this video. I'd love you to see, and that's from today. Okay, Burhan, yes, sure, you're actually new. Recently did a bachelor's degree in UCE, so preparing for a cloud architecture job. So, my recommendation for you is the following. First and foremost, you've got to get network knowledge and data center knowledge. You can look at my program, and you can either do it with us, or you can see exactly what we put in our program, and you can use that as a framework for the things to do. We have 20 plus years helping people do it with this way, so we're going to get you there a lot faster, but we'll get you there. With our people, we help them get the Certified Solution Architect, the Certified Solution Architect Associate, and Professional. We have programs that are included for free for the advanced networking as well as the advanced security. That's part of our training. I will tell you that is only 10% of what we do. 30% of what we do, or 40%, is realistically speaking teaching you how the cloud works, why it works, and how to use it. And we have 2 live calls each week where we do architectures. If you're with us, great. If you're on your own, again, I strongly recommend that you've got to ask people how the systems are designed. You must need to know what an architect designs. We provide training in virtualization, because you need virtualization knowledge. Containers, you need container knowledge. Firewalls, what it is. Routing, switching, security. We teach all of it. If you're with us, great. If you're not with us, you still need to learn this. So these are the things that are there. Plus, then we need to pick a type of cloud architect for you. And for example, if you decided that you wanted to be a basic cloud architect, we probably need a basic Linux certification, and we might get something like a CCNA or a CCDA to show that you understand the networking. That, plus you've got to build your own cloud, you've got to set up firewalls, proxy servers, IAM, all this stuff is really what you need to do. So what I'm going to do, since we were only scheduled to be here for an hour, and we had a lively discussion, so we're here for an hour and 20 minutes, which I am thrilled. Anytime I can get in front of the cloud architect community, it makes me very happy. Here's our career development program. Here is a coupon code for 20% off. And I'm also going to leave my phone number for anybody that has any questions. I will happily call you back, or you can call me. If any of you have any more questions, you know how to reach me. You can also reach out to us at elitetechcareers@gmail.com. If you'd like me to make any videos on a specific topic, send an email to askcloudmike@gmail.com, and we'll be able to take care of that. It's been an honor and a privilege to speak to you all today. I don't take this honor lightly. Anytime we talk about cloud careers, you're showing up from all over the world, and I'm so grateful to have you. Thank you so much. I look forward to seeing you all very soon. Take care. If you've liked this video and you don't mind, if you can leave a like. If you've found the information useful, please feel free to share this video with other people when it's available. Please watch that video I released today. It's going to have a big impact on your career. Thank you all so much. Look forward to seeing you in another video or my webinar tomorrow. Take care.